So hi everyone, this is podcast interviewing Web3 projects founder, powered by Skyland Ventures. Today we have the guest, the founder of GoPlus Security, Eskil. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ken. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, nice to meet you. And today, so we introduce Eskil for our interviews and like futures and how you are going to with your project GoPlus Security. And so let me start with the first question. So could you explain your like career and how did you find and meet like Web3 market? And why did you found GoPlus Security, like security API company?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Ken. Actually, I started with my career, which is a little bit kind of sophisticated. I was in the beginning working as a diplomatic. I had working for different government, first the European government in Sweden. I promoted Swedish environmental technology in Asia. And then I also working for one of the Chinese local development region for promoting this international relation. But I switched into a serious entrepreneur, which means I started my first company around 10 years ago. And that was started from IoT and also native cloud service, like from 2014, which is like 9 years ago. And then I got in contact with, there was actually not a concept called Web3 that back to that time. It's about like 2016, 2017, I already have some friend. Because I think that's also relevant since a lot of early like a builder for the Web3 or for crypto is actually come from the IT industry. So that's where I started. But I was not really into that from the first place. I think I have some question in my own mind, like thinking about like what is the direction, what is the application, blah, blah, everything. Because I think back to 5-6 years ago, I don't really think there is a very clear direction for Web3. Where are we going to do? It's a lot of great narratives, great infrastructure, but it was not the, at least for me, for my humble and naive idea, I don't think it's have the land to really put that into soil. But things started to change, especially after 2019 and 2020. You see a lot of things. I think the DeFi is definitely one of the milestones. So I think some of my Web3 friends who are started to do that, like even early stage, like from the 17, 16, they are kind of more and more clear about what they're doing. And this makes sense. It's actually, what is a Web3 doing first? It's actually decentralized on itself. For example, the DeFi is exactly a good example to how to switch from all the trading from the central exchange to like a DEX and all kind of things. And there's more and more people started to use, for example, wallet. So it's become to generate some real user scenario. User finally finding something, not only simple for trading and all this kind of things, or even for trading, you are use some real decentralized infrastructure and depth based on that. But in the same time, I think it's also bring the question of the security. And that is as any IT industry, as any IT scenario, like the reason is simple, because when you have money, when the people trading with their money, especially in Web3, there's a one word called not your key, not your coin. But the opposite is like in Web3, especially for user, if I take your key, I take your everything. And this is actually make a paradox of the security for ordinary user, because they are not always capable to protect themselves, to figure out all the scams, all the thief, all the potential risk for themselves. So I think that's the trigger. And also that time, my partner, which is another co-founder, Mike, who found me about this security idea. So we started to build that together, and that was right around the DeFi summer. So it was from now it's like 4 years ago. Sorry, 3 years ago. So yeah, that's I think maybe that's enough for the first question.
Right. Yeah. So you started your company like about 4 years ago. So about that, how like did you like organize your team at first stage, with your concept of the security management, and how did you grow them up like to the current stage?
Yeah. Actually, in the very early stage, like since our foundation is actually another, as I mentioned, another founder, Mike. Mike is actually kind of the old player in traditional cybersecurity, because he's one of the members in one of the largest, not one of, it's actually the largest cybersecurity company called 360, Qihu Security in China. And he's one of the early members from 2010 to 2013. And I think he's really fantastic in all dealing with all this practical things, but also with a very strong background, because they have been managed to dealing with billions of users regarding on their security in Web2. And that's a very, very important foundation. And also in the beginning, we already have a small group of a team which have rich experience regarding on security and also on Web3, because a lot of our early members, they are actually started build on Web3 from 2017, 2018. And we do have a lot of experience regarding on like a smart contract, EVM, and also like fundamental data analysis, all these kind of things. It just coming to 2020 after DeFi summer. So you found a lot of the rug pull, you found a lot of scam thing there. And at the same time, we are trying to find some people who are having especially in the early stage, like all the early members, they are either in the old team, it's like the old friend, old brother who are working together. Otherwise, they have really strong sense regarding on what is going on, and they have really have a sense on security. For example, all of our early member, like right now, our head of Turkey, a guy right now, they are leading a team in Montreal to participating in the AdCom. So he joined us also like 3 years ago. We started to talk when he was still haven't graduated yet, but he's just actually a very active community member, like in early stage community. So we discuss a lot of topics. We share our data, like what we are doing now. We share all this data API. In the early stage, we share more. We actually had our own wallet, have our own data website. So we share some insight with the users in the group. Then the people just starting to ask a different kind of question. And this guy, for example, Takan, he asking good questions. So I found that's interesting. That might be someone we can like working together on something. So actually, he just working as a volunteer, like from Turkey at the first place. And then after half year, and there was some coincidence. Then we raised the question like, do you also want to working for us for long term? Maybe at a part time, like working on some business development or marketing or in general community development. And he said, why not? Yes, I mean this is something I really interested. So this is just one case. Actually, right now we have around 40 people, and we have the people from 6 or 7 countries, from different citizenship. But Ataka is just one case. So how we get up the team, in the beginning, you always have found the one who really have some passionate and understanding about the thing. Especially, I think the integrity is very important, because we're working with user security. And the security thing is always two sides. One side is attacker, one side is defender. There's always a choice you want to choose to be the defender, or even in some case, someone just to become the opposite, because it's much easier to, like scam some money, make your own economically interested. But I would say is against my own personal principle. So that's also one of the important principles for us to recruit a team member, to recruit people. So the person, the capability, the knowledge, the know-how, and also very importantly, I think like the ability of learning is very important for us. And we are still using that. Just right now, since the team is growing, we have more and more matured player joining in, and they probably already some famous security builder in old times or have long experience dealing all with marketing, partnership or financing. So, but this is like a snowball. But in the beginning, it's I would say everything coming from your how to say your inner power. You really think, okay, this is something I trust, I believe, and I want to work for that. Whatever it's big or small from the very beginning, which is crucial. Thank you.
I see. Yeah, it's really, yeah, I appreciate it. It's really comprehensive explanation for like building up a really big team. So yeah. Okay, so okay,
yeah,
this
that's a big topic actually. If you want to discuss, we can have more because we are continuing in the process of reorganizing and re-engaging everybody in different position. It's like Ted Lasso, it's this famous Apple TV show. It's like being a coach, how to organize everything. Sorry, I maybe too much on that. Please continue.
Yeah. So the third question is like, so yeah, this is already like told by like a past questions, but I guess, but so why security? Like, why did you find Web3 security is important? Like, so it's obviously it's really important, and still we had lots of scams problems, and out there we like even in Japan as well, there are lots of scammers coming out to the wallet services, transactions. At least like your project is really concentrating on API services. So it's really unique in terms of other like auditing or other security services are doing differently. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, as you already asked, our service is different from like auditing or any other type of the security. Because when you ask this question, I think the first thing in my mind is always important is that when we talk about Web3 security, I mean, what are we really talking about specifically? I mean, what do you think about Web3 security? I mean, like it's a general question, but honestly, I think different people, they might have different answers about the scope. What is a Web3 security? Because like if you've been in like a DevCon or like any kind of the top Ethereum gathering conference, you will see a lot of people actually talking about a security relevant topic. But one important thing I noticed, they're actually talking about different topic. Because security is kind of big concept. I mean, a lot of people they probably talking about security for example, there's a lot of Ethereum conference. So they're actually talking about security for Ethereum itself. For example, Ethereum 2.0, Ethereum like a roll up, all this layer twos. They're probably talking about the security about their chains. And obviously, they're also security for a very important player like a central exchange or some custodied, centralized security service, which is also important because we see obviously there's more people playing on on Binance rather than trading on Uniswap or Pancake. That's a fact. That's to reflect on the situation we are. But then you have already mentioned auditing, and auditing is obviously very important because this is the right now it's still the most popular thing for, I would call it a B2B security regarding on Web3 security. Because what is auditing shooting on? This is also solving the problem for individual project on your smart contract or on your front end or a wallet. It's like a B2B service to make sure your application, your smart contract, your apps is kind of strong. is kind of the resilient. You can resist to attacker. So you don't easily being attacked, or your vulnerability have been easily funded and used to attack all of that. Then your project just get clapped. But one thing, another thing, which I think is a little bit hiding on the corner, and is a little bit actually kind of ignored by minority, especially by the massive media or like the co-development team for the Web3 beauty, is about user security. And when we talk about user security, I'm talking about all this kind of scam, or someone trying to hack on your wallet, or some like a fake NFT, like a wash trading, like a rug pull token, or some approval attack, or like some MEV attack, which is directly shooting on individuals. And by doing that attack, they probably just swap the money from your wallet to there. That's the question we're talking about. And technically speaking, it's also a little bit different from auditing, because auditing, for example, if we take a smart contract as anchor, the auditing is more like shooting on smart contract, funding the vulnerability to say how good you are. I mean, in case being attacked. But what we are doing, like checking what is GoPlus is doing regarding our user security, by making all this API. Actually, we are checking on the backdoors from the different end, like a smart contract, or like address, or like approval methodology, to see if there were any backdoors which can be utilized by some malicious project, who want to rug pull their user, take advantage on their user and hacking their money. That's what we are shooting on. That's what GoPlus is helping for the user. And why we are doing that is just because there was no one providing a really scalable, meaningful service before us. That's I think a very simple reason why we're doing that. And by doing that, we need some knowledge and know-how. And as I explained it earlier, most of the team in the beginning, we have a lot of rich experience in Web2 security, and plus we have a lot of experience in Web3, working on all different kinds of smart contract and all the infrastructure. So based on that combination, and also trying to fill the huge gap for user security. So that's why we are doing that. And we are also doing that not only for the user right now, because if you think about like the Web3 user right now, I mean, this is a bear market, right? This is really kind of terrible market, and you are also facing the threaten. It's like the U.S. economy is like kind of shaking there. You don't know when they're going to clap. I mean, you're watching the news, it's all the bad news. It's a lot of black swan was waiting for you there. But if you believe like the Web3 is continue to grow, and they're not only being the user like you and me and the rest of them still play in the bear market, because the people who are the survivor right now, you somehow managed to working with all the scam, all this, kind of the risky environment. We have some prediction, like they are even more than 25% of a chance for ordinary user to be scammed. Whatever is a phishing, whatever is a rug pull token, is a fake NFT or approval or MEV attack. But you see, it's a lot of, like a risky on your user's journey. But somehow you are okay with that, right? Because you probably already taken and you already kind of experience on everything. So you know what is what. So you probably have your own methodology to say, protect yourself from all this terrible, like scams or risky. But still, there are people getting scammed every day. I mean, from different country, from different place. But the worst case will be if we still believe the Web3 is still going to be it's going to be growing. If we say right now it's millions of users right now, and we want to onboard 10 times or 100 times, say billions of users, like it's like maybe your parents, your uncle or your grandparents will join into Web3 and to using something, whatever is for trading NFT or scam. Do you think they will survive in such an unsafe environment like that? Or do you think they will dare to enter into this field to risk themselves with all this kind of a scam, like things they couldn't really understand why, but they just lose their money, right? So I would say the user security, it's not the full condition to make sure we will have the Web3 to onboard billions of users and to serve more users, but I think it's a necessary condition. If we don't solve it, if we don't improve that, that will be kind of impossible for onboard more people here because it's just simply too risky. Yeah, that's will be my answer to that.
Okay, thank you so much. So, let me just dive into your company's products. So, security API. So how about your API? So in which countries your API used mainly? Still in Japan, GoPlus is not so much popular yet, but still have a potential to spread out. So let me just introduce your project's condition and status about the popularity, and also how can we use it by using wallet services or NFT services, etc. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that question. And first, the API, like the main product, the data service we are providing, is actually the service providing. We will call it a data service, which is providing the security data, all the labeling on Web3 to different kind of the users, like a wallet, data aggregation, a data website, or even some DeFi or NFT or game, whatever, or even some Web2 users, like some brothers, they're also using our data to as a fundamental risk management data to alert their user if there are some risk here or not. For example, nowadays we have 8 million API call per day from a different part of the world. Actually, I cannot really answer you which country they are coming from because we simply don't know. Okay. The only thing we can figure out is the IP or the partner which have been done the KYB, know your business is kind of registered in our form, so we know they're coming from. But I think we are actually started from Asia, but right now we are kind of popular globally. Because for example, take the data website example, all this bigger data website, we are usually thinking about top 4 or 5 of them, like CMC, coin market cap. In their website, you can see many new tokens they have listed. They have the label on the top of them. That's their listing team who have been checking like a GoPlus before they list a new token. They will check GoPlus and they will say if there was something wrong with that. And also, if you go to their function called DEX pair, you will see there is a full function of the data for each of the token or NFT, which is showing if this token is safe or not. Similar for Gecko Terminal. Gecko Terminal is belong to CoinGecko. And also DEX tools. DEX tools, I think, based on the data statistic we see, they have the really the largest API call every day. And also DEX Screener, because this big four is it's not for a specific country. They're everywhere in US, in Europe, in Asia, in Latin America, Africa, Middle East, everybody using them. But I don't know for Japanese user, which one they are using, because first I know in Japan, they are a little bit different from other places, because you have your own kind of the registered crypto market, so you have everything under compliant. But that's actually a little bit different from, I would say, mainstream. The mainstream, I mean, if you're ranking on the TVL or everything, you have the BTC, you have the Ethereum, all this token, or all the layer 2s is very popular nowadays. But in Japanese, if you say the compliant market, that may be something else, maybe something even I don't know. But if you say if it's an open market, it doesn't distinguish where you come from. They don't care. You're just a user. You're just a user there. They even don't calculate on your IP or things. It's just coming from your address. So regarding on that, I think we are I would not do. I'm trying to be humble, but still, we are the number one providing all the data on different end of the partners regarding our security data. But I do believe for Japanese users, I mean, whatever you are, playing in the more open market in Web3, which just means you're boundless, or like if you play in the kind of the compliant market, I think we might need to do more things on that in the compliant market. But actually, we are new there. We are pupil. We're not that familiar with that market. The only thing I could compare is actually we are also participating something in Hong Kong. They have some association regarding on registered market. But compared with Japan, it's still early. It's not everything like formalized yet. But we are actively participating on that, just providing our data because our data is open and it's permissionless, which means anyone. I don't really know, or I don't really can decide who you are going to use our data, but you can use our data. You can find our website, you can find our Gitbook, then you can find our API. And this is all the infrastructure instruction there. If you have some question to ask us, you're welcome, but you can use that anyway. But we just trying to influence that with more user, whatever it's a Hong Kong-based regulated market or Japanese regulated market, or there are even many Web2 or traditional finance service provider like funding us to have book a meeting with us to learn how could they use our data for like their data index or things, which is also kind of encouraging for us. Yeah. Besides, it's only one another case like all the security service. For example, there's one partner called KKI. They're also using our data. But they're using data way is they're using our data to arm their security service to protect their user. And they're very focused on Japanese market. I think we might not necessarily go directly in front of each of the single ordinary Japanese user, but we will just say empowering all of our partners to use our data to serve more user in Japan and also rest of the world. That's the way we're doing.
I see. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so about your API, your products. So like in the first place, I'm just wondering like what type of scams are happening out there, and like which is like popular and not popular or something like that. And and also like by using GoPlus security API, so how can we prevent our assets from them? And also like the strengths of your like GoPlus API is like what like it's like how manage that. So like how does GoPlus managing your AP like your the security, and how like decide the API strengthen like stocking the data set, or having a big like lots of the judging data about the scams or addresses. Yeah.
I think I could absorb that as two questions. One is like how could GoPlus API trying to protect the user? Then I can maybe just give you one like a case, just like exactly the case.
Yeah, fine.
Like you can like you can figure out how we do that, and then I can also explain like how we do that technically regarding on the data. So if you allow me, I think I can just quickly share my screen, and I just give you some quick showcase about how is everybody using the data for GoPlus. Look, this is just a Jekyll terminal. Jekyll terminal by CoinGecko, same team, different product. And I just clicked on some high-ranking token randomly. I don't really know that, but you can see this is like the CoinGecko interface, like right. They show the data. They show their chatter, like their price going up and down, their liquidity, like trading volume, and basic information like address, like a social media account. And here you have this Square, which is a security function, which is called GoPlus token security. I show it first. It's a Chinese version, but I think Japanese can read some of them, some of the words maybe. Yeah, and you can see this is actually just a different labeling. We have been detected, and we provided this data goes through our API. And what Gecko Terminal they're doing, they just integrated this API into their website for each of the token. So for each of the token, Gecko Terminal showing to their own user, they will show as a result of if this token have some issue of the safety or not. And here they say, you see there's a red label, and they say there's actually, in English, it's a buying test and a selling test. So it's 9%. It's a little bit high, but this is just something, kind of the attention, but it's not saying they are a scam or something. For the rest of things like Honeypot, like a Mintball, like open source or not, or like they can sell all the token, like a cool down function, whatever, blah blah. They are fine with that. So what we are providing here, we're just providing a list of security checking to this website, and they can show directly to their user, and if it's safe or not. But if they don't do that, if we don't use GoPlus API, so the people, they will have no way to figure out if they have some potential risk, or even what is their buying selling test, because they were all writing in their smart contract. And I can also give you another example, which is just quickly taking from Dex Tools. Very similar, but now it's all in English. But the different from Dex Tools and Gecko Terminal, there are two data websites. You're aware of that, right? But they have a very similar structure of a data showing, but they have a different function, which is the Dex Tools made it kind of a little bit more user friendly. So they make a scoring system to show here this Dex score, which is showing the security score for this token. Look, this token is 1, which means it's a really problem. And here, why they say it's only 1 score is you see down further a little bit, you see GoPlus data, they say it's a honeypot. Yes, it is a honeypot. And this is also the same information we provided from our security API. Then you can see they can also modify their balance. And this contract, they also have a hidden owner. It's really look like it's a kind of harmful for all the users. And also look at the data. The trading stopped at February 15 is already kind of stopped, and they're kind of dead, because if it's a honeypot, it's no point for any further user to trading on them. But this is just one example. So we go through our detection, we figure out all the data, and we have our own security engine. And security engine is just working automatically and loyalty to the smart contract. And then they figure out the question, and we made the API as output. Then they use that to show their user if it's safe or not. That's how we figure out if that was a scam or not. Is that clear, or you have any questions?
Yeah, it's really, really clear. And also, I'd like to know the API strengths. So why GoPlus Security is the #1 security firm in Web3 scene. So what's the your products really, really strong point, in terms of data set, or in terms of quality, or you name it.
Thank you, Kim. I think why we're saying we're number one is I would just simply say it's the data and also the use case from everywhere. But how we really get that is obviously it's an interesting story. But I would only say we are kind of halfway. Halfway is not like halfway to number one, but it's halfway of our building plan so far. So, but if we think about what we have been done right from 1.5 years ago, because we started to providing the API as a trial version from the end of 2021, and we finally launched it actually in the beginning of 2022, which is last year. It's actually all the API just have been there for 1 year and 4 months right now. And I think that in the beginning, the first thing we're doing is the right. Or let's say why we're doing that. It's just that because when we're looking at the security situation regarding our user security, what I had mentioned, the simple philosophy behind it is actually it's a war between the attacker and defender. And why the situation is so risky and so hard for all the defenders is that first, I think it's hard to say I will manage all this question one-time shot. I would rather to say if we want to solve it first, we want to figure it out. The first question coming to my mind is what is going on? I mean, how did this scammer, in what way they are utilizing to scam on the users? And actually, I mentioned in the beginning, our background, our starting point is actually from DeFi Summer. And DeFi Summer, you could see this kind of the peaking time to generate a lot of new token, right? So this is also relevant because our first security API, which is token security API. Because since DeFi Summer, there already a lot of scam token coming out. The scam token sometimes just mean, kind of I wouldn't rather use that word, but it's actually mean this token because it's just for me, it's kind of mean this. You cannot use it for anything, only for trading, right? But hiding in this means token, there are some scam. So it's not all the meme tokens is like Shiba or Dogecoin or Pepe nowadays. They are just some scam token. They attracted with the user, then they just wrapped. The wrapped means all your money are gone. They just wrap out all the liquidity and they're gone. And it's actually happened again and again. Another type is like kind of fake token. It's like, for example, Arbitrum. When Arbitrum started their airdrop, if you search on Etherscan, you will find, I would say, maybe hundreds of different Abi. They're all called Abi. If you don't know how to figure out which is the right one by address, you might be scammed by some fake Abi, because to make it real, they are not just fake the name. They even put some liquidity and they made some internal trading. Everything look like, wow, this is like a tradable Arbitrum token. So it's a lot of things like that. So what we do first is actually we started doing it from 2020. So we had a lot of experience on doing that from beginning. But in the beginning, we are not I would say like coverage a lot, but we already have a basic structure. We build our own security engine, which is automatic, dynamic checking methodology. It's automatically checking on all the smart contract from Etherscan and also all the blockchain node, all the data. And how we decided which token we are going to check is actually, that's why we made it as an open permissionless API. We just made it API, and at the first place we have around 20,000 token, which is 100 most popular token we had back to that time. But then we just make it as API for free permissionless, let anybody who have interested to use that to integrate it. And the purpose of doing that obviously is promoting, but also we want more users to use that without charging on them. First, it's a public good. We want to keep doing that. And second, actually, we are trying to attract the user to use that API. By doing that, we are actually getting the feedback. Let the user tell us which token they want to detect. And by doing that, we will shooting on the token which are the user who are really care about. because there's even more user. I mean, compare on what we have been detected. We have detected, I mean, right now more than 3 million token, or last time I checked it's 2.8, but recently it's already 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
But there are even more token than that. So, but you don't have to put all your energy, all your effort on all the token. In the beginning, what we are doing is just to let the user tell us which one they want to know, and we will give them the feedback within 10 seconds. So by doing that, we actually built automatically detection networking for people to check if this token are safe or not. And similar thing we do for NFT or malicious address. And then when more and more people using that, we just getting more feedback. And our database is also grows a lot. And when the database grows a lot, at the same time, we figure out more scam methodology, more labeling, and we keep improving that. It's continuous war. It's infinite game. So we just continue build on that. And we also push that to bigger partners. Firstly, a little bit bigger one, like a very popular one, AVE DEX, like a BitCape, very popular wallet in Asia. But later you have bigger one, like maybe Token Pocket, SafePal, Dex Tools, CMC, CoinGecko. When we get more people using, our data kind of becomes stronger. The more data we got, we absorb, we have it as input. Actually, the more accurate we can give as output. And at the same time, we see more risky than others because we have been detected more token than anybody else adding together. So we actually become the largest database on detecting all the risky token or NFT or all the kind of the API we are providing. That's like the beginning of the story. This is how we succeed and keep our data growing. Actually, I remember last year from February to May. May is also very important because May is the time when Luna Club. And before Luna Club, we actually grows our API call from like in the beginning, maybe 1,000 call per day. And by May, it's already nearly 1 million. So it's 1,000 growth in 3 months. So it's actually very quick. And by far, we have 8 million. So we even get 8 times after like when we already get something. So, but it's still growing because the way is simple. When there's more people using that, they trust on that, and then they keep working on that. But it's also bring another thought to us because right now we are the only data generator for that. So what we do another side is actually we are also trying to open source more things on that. All the data labeling, all the data, because the purpose of GoPlus, or that's my relevant with another question. We want to build a native Web3 security infrastructure instead of a centralized security company. It's different because we are right now, we are the largest data provider doing everything, improving our data modeling, our data engine, but we are also trying to open source everything, also set up some standards and open source the thing, have a lot of open discussion with different security, data participator, data provider. So we are also seeing a trend. There are more and more people actually joining us on doing that, sharing with their own data, like on the, like a malicious address or like a scamming token. The people who are doing that with us, first is some auditing company like a Slow Mist, Block, Hacking, and a couple of others. But at the same time, we also have a lot of support from public chain, central exchange like Binance, Coinbase. They all be part of our data sharing plan in different ways. So by doing that, actually, we just are setting up a scope. So the scope is built up a Web3 user secure infrastructure. But this is initialized by GoPlus, but it's not going to only be done by GoPlus. It will be participated by anybody who has a role on that. Then we make it safer. We also make it decentralized, and we also have more plans regarding on that later. Yeah, that's really my answer to this question.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is a final question, and after that, we will finish our meeting and podcast. All right. So please explain your future plan of GoPlus security, how you plan to grow your company's app and the future, like doing in the future, what are you like planning to do?
Yeah, thanks for the question again, Ken. Actually, I already touched a little bit on that. There's two big part of that. The one big part of GoPlus is doing is actually, as I had already mentioned in my last question, we are keep on building the Web3 user security infrastructure and also make it more open sourced, more transparent and decentralized. That's a very important target for us to working on. So we do a lot of open source contribution in GitHub and setting up like a different labeling standard, working with others, and also contributing our data to make it open, because our data API is already an open one, but we just trying to facilitate more on that to create more developer tools, SDKs, or best practice who are using our API, and also even hackathon incubation facilitation on the people who are use our API and also who can contribute their data based on their security model or security engine themselves. So we are trying to become an open system for Web3 security infrastructure, make it as an open system, because I think that's the only best way in the long term, if we can maintain as a pure security thing to against from the kind of censorship in the end, whatever is by ourselves or by somebody else. So that means we will also have the encouraging plan to maybe utilize like a token economy to encourage people who would love to participate into this inferior contribution, like providing their data or labeling or standard or insight or technology into that. So that was the goal number one. And the goal number two is also we are trying to find a way to make this whole thing more sustainable, which means we also need to think in the business scope, in the scope of business, how to make it sustain. So that's another thing we do right now. The first is we are actually building a GoPlus Echo, which is a service marketplace, which actually focusing on helping with the builder who are utilizing our data, but actually building their own user security service. Like I mentioned, the Kekai as a Japanese security service provider, but also a lot more in US, in Europe, in Turkey, in China, in Asia, in the rest of the world, different place. Because I think regarding our security service, which means that was something directly facing the end user, because GoPlus security API is not facing the end user. It's more like the infrastructure. It's like a middleware. Is like a protocol to be used by all the builders to protect their user. But the security service will be something built on GoPlus security data, but which is more like the antivirus software. Maybe you have been familiar with some of them, like when you're using PC, Windows, whatever. So that was something definitely will be needed for ordinary user, or like some recovery plan, like insurance. But they all kind of using our data, but they build their own service onto that. And our business model is because we have a lot of like a data call, we are kind of become the entrant for security data curing. So we will also promote for that in different community, in different place, but we also carry on the revenue sharing as a marketplace. It's a little bit like like a Steam or like the Google Play. Like we are working on sharing the different service on different end, on also on based on different party. But another sustainable plan is also because so far our data is all for free, but we have been received from demand or need who actually have the higher demand on our data. Not only on the data quality, but also, for example, on the data latency or data concurrency. So they have a more requirement on the data. So we will plan to have a primary version of an API, or we will open also a customized data market, which we will also have a paid data service, which is can also be an open system in the form of an open system. So we will charge on that. So by doing that is kind of a commercialization plan for GoPlus, but we don't really have a set kind of the timeline to say we have to finish that someday. We're just trying to make it more organic and trying to make it more in the Web3 way, and that's what we are going to do in the coming ages. Yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty
thank you
much
so much.
about. Yeah. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah, thank you for coming our podcast. And this is a podcast, and today's guest was the Eskil from GoPlus Security. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Have a good day.